My most comfortable way of thinking about God, about the divine, is as holy mystery. Holy mystery. There's something about that phrase that for me captures the enormous unknowingness that I experience as God, that gives nod to the awesome vastness and sacred presence that is everywhere and nowhere, just all around us. But that sense of God often seems to come hand in hand with a sense of arm's length awe, a sense of distance, of God being out there, impossible to understand or grasp. I think that's why I love Advent and Christmas so much. The Advent and Christmas story of our faith tradition doesn't allow us to keep God at arm's length, to pretend at awe and reverence when really what we are feeling is distance and separation. Advent ushers up close, right into God's presence. Nose pressed up close against the physicality of a God who does not keep us at arm's length. Into the intimacy of Gabriel's visitation to Mary. Into the arms of the sisterhood of Elizabeth and Mary, of the brotherhood of cousins who leap at the presence of each other in their mother's wombs. Into the anxiety of a groom, a man whose future changes under his feet. Into the miracle of growth in a womb. Into the blood and pain and work of labor. Advent wraps its arms around us and pulls us in close, face to face with a God who proclaims, I have called you by name. You are mine. Sounds kind of like a grandma, honestly, or a parent holding their child close to them. As I walked into the sanctuary today, surrounded by all these incredible quilts, I felt like I was walking into a grandmother's hug. I wonder if you felt like that too. Each one of these quilts represents so much love poured into it. Our partners at Sanctified Art, who created this imagery and theme for our Advent series, said this: we were inspired by the visual concept of quilting because this series feels like a blanket wrapped around you, providing warmth and comfort as you begin again. Like a quilt formed by scraps of old fabric and meaningful family remembrances, this worship series stitches together the ancient scriptures and reminders we need to hear again and again. Today, our reminder from these quilts is our belovedness. Small scraps of cloth, perhaps initially discarded, patched together to make a blanket that provides warmth and comfort for the person using it. As you gaze around the room or even behind you, allow your eye to fall on one of those scraps, one of those patches. We are all, each of us, known and needed. Our edges hold the others up around us. Our color, though it may not match those immediately around us, is just exactly the right one for that spot and is a part of a greater whole than perhaps we can see. Our fabric is rough or smooth, silky or soft, and it is precisely chosen for what it is. No more, no less. This Advent season, I invite you to join me on a journey of encountering God up close, of setting down the image of God as a distant mystery and coming nose to nose with a God who sees you and calls you beloved, of imagining God's very being held in these quilts of love, touching your shoulders and back right now, of allowing yourself to be gently held, gazed at adoringly, rocked soothingly by God, just as a grandmother might wrap a quilt around your shoulders and rock you in a chair, humming into your ear. Reverend Lyle Gwynn Garrity shares, "For me, this Advent series imparts a feeling just as much as a message. It feels like a warm blanket wrapped around us, giving us courage to face the increased anxiety and intensity that an election season brings. It feels like a steady ground, a path for our feet as we step forward into the unknown of a new year. It feels like a soft whisper in our ears, reminding each of us who we are and whose we are. It feels like love. This season, may God's all-embracing and steadying love be our companion." And I invite you now to just dwell in that love. Feel your back, feel an edge of a quilt, reach out and grasp a quilt, and see if you can imagine God's presence in that quilt. See if you can remember the ways in which you are uniquely beloved. See if you can imagine that quilt wrapping you in God's love. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, God's beloved. I am God's beloved. I am God's beloved. Amen.